When a tool this powerful enters your life, it doesn't just change what you can do, it changes what you must become. You're not here to compete with machines. You are here to collaborate with intelligence, both artificial and your own. Most people ask, will AI replace me? That's the wrong question. The real question is, will you expand fast enough to meet what's now possible? AI doesn't shrink your worth. It reveals the untapped layers of it. You're not falling behind. You're being invited to lead, not by knowing everything, but by becoming more than you were yesterday. Expand with it. That's the path forward.
Imagine it's 1915. You're a farmer. Your hands are calloused from years of plowing behind a horse. Then someone rolls up with a loud, strange contraption. A tractor. You laugh. No way I need that. My horses are just fine. But the farmer next door buys one. A year later, he's doing 10x the work in half the time. He's not working harder, he's working smarter. And that machine didn't just take his job, it made him more valuable. That's where we are today with AI. Good day, everyone. I'm Bryan Orton, and I want to tell you about another story here besides the farmers and the tractors. There's this ancient fable that had to take place in the Middle East, and there was a king that had two sons, and he knew that he needed to give his kingdom to one of them because he's getting older and the time had come. So he said to both of them that I want you guys to have a decade to build something extraordinary. Build something extraordinary. And the one that does that really captures this, they're going to get the kingdom. So both sons were excited about that. The first son, who's the oldest son, he went out, got a crew, cleared the land, and started building a pyramid. And the first layers were pretty easy because it's at ground level. But as it got higher and higher, it was really a struggle because all he had was muscle power. Now, the younger brother, people didn't even see him doing anything. When they went to the site where he was going to build something, it was nothing there for year 1, year 2, year 3. Now, what was he doing? He was traveling the world, talking to other engineers, talking to people who designed pulleys and levers and figured out how to use things, what was going on, what could be possible. And so then he went back home and built a contraption based on all this knowledge. And it wasn't until like year 3.5 that he started actually doing his construction. And what he used was a crane, and he used the leverage. And what he got done in the first 6 months exceeded what his older brother had done in 3.5 years. And he far outpaced him until the decade was over. He got his pyramid done before his brother. His older brother was frustrated. And I feel like that's where we are today. Some of us are using technology and we're leveraging it and we're getting the advantage of it. It's helping us do things faster and better. And then others of us are stuck in old ways and old thinking, and we're limited by that. Because if someone is using a tractor, they're going to be more successful than you. If someone's using a crane and they're building a skyscraper today, they're going to be more successful. We don't look at those technologies and say we want to go back to building skyscrapers by hand and not using machines, or farming without equipment and tractors. So that's the essence of this right here in this video. Is I want you to think about, what am I embracing and what am I resisting? Because what you resist, it persists and it doesn't go away. But the early adopters, they're the ones that get the advantages of these technologies. Now, I want to go to a Peter Drucker quote, and he says, "The greatest danger in times of turbulence is not the turbulence, it is to act with yesterday's logic." So here again, you can see Are you going with what worked in the past, or are you going with what is working now and in the future? Now, there's some things certainly that are not going to change, right? Like how you treat people. If you treat people with respect and kindness, that's never going to change. If you are honest and have integrity, hopefully that doesn't change either. but there are other things in technology that are changing, and are you embracing those or not? Now, my story is I first started using ChatGPT like it was a toy. I would have it help me write headlines, make worksheets for students, and I just thought it was kind of cool, and that's what it could do. It could do writing, it could do research. But then what I started realizing is that this is way more powerful than that. It can start figuring out my patterns. And I've talked about some of these patterns in other videos, but the patterns of having the identity of an underdog. And when you have that identity of an underdog, what that means is you have to struggle to succeed. And if you are looking at farming, could I be plowing by hand or plowing with a horse and thinking I have to struggle, I have to fight, versus resisting getting a tractor? The other thing I noticed with me is I was using ChatGPT kind of like my kids used to, like with a Game Boy. It was entertaining, it was fun, but was it really making a big difference? And then I realized this isn't a Game Boy. This is actually like data from Star Trek. And that's a world of difference. And it stopped being a novelty to me, stopped being like, wow, this is so amazing. And it started being an actual partner for me. And that was a big shift for me, because once it became a partner, now we're co-creating, now we're interacting, now it's bringing ideas to me, now we're fleshing out things and figuring out what is the best way to move forward. So expansion of yourself is not about the tools. It is about who you believe you are. Are you someone who adopts best practices, or are you someone who resists and waits until it's too late, actually? I know there's been people who in the past resisted computers. They resisted other technologies. And when you do that, all it does is just put you behind in the game of life or business or whatever industry or area you're in. It just puts you behind. Now, I also have another quote here by Eric Hoffer. And in times of change, learners inherit the earth, while the learned find themselves beautifully equipped to deal with a world that no longer exists. So learners are the people who stay flexible, open-minded. I mean, most of us think, oh yeah, I'm open-minded, but are you really open-minded? Are you open-minded to something like AI? Or are you more resistant to it? And the learners or the learned, they rely on what used to work, even as the world shifts. So we're not in a knowledge economy anymore. We're in a relearning economy, and it's rapidly changing and growing. And in the world of AI, you are rewarded if you adapt and you embrace these things. And if you resist, well, someone else is going to do it. And people are worried, like, will AI take my job? But with all the stuff I've looked at, it's like AI is not going to take your job necessarily, but people who use AI will take your job because they are learning how to use this technology, just like a farmer learned to use a tractor. So the next one is the 3 hidden costs. And what's the hidden cost of you not expanding? And if you want to take this just outside of AI, just you in personal development, that's really one of my strength areas here. And what is comfort really costing you? All of us want to be comfortable. We want to have a good life. But what is that comfort costing you? And what is it costing the people around you? Maybe your kids, your grandkids, because you're resisting this. What does that cost? So one is wasted time. You're trying to solve today's problems with yesterday's thinking. So again, with the story, the parable with the two sons, one used new technology, that of a crane, and the other one just tried to use brute force and labor. Number two, stalled growth. You're hitting the same wall, but you're only doing it harder, and you're expecting a different result. I remember Einstein said insanity is doing the same thing over and expecting a different result. So here you're working harder, but not getting a different result. And then three, invisible ceiling. You can't reach new heights if you're fixated on the floor. And there's four types of leaders. And when we look at change, there is the avoider, and this person pretends nothing is changing until it's too late. The skeptic, they know change is coming, but delays action while overanalyzing it and justifying why they're doing that. The hustler, they double down on effort. They're like that brother in the parable who works harder, gets more people to help him lift stones, but not realizing the game has changed and he could be doing so much more if he would have embraced the technology of the crane. And the fourth one is the expander, and they adopt early, they upgrade their identity, and they lead with leverage. So think about that in terms of like your own personal life, because some of you are going to say, well, I'm not a leader. I don't run my school or I don't run this business, but you lead your life. You are the CEO. You're the director of your life. So if you are not leading your life, who is, right? So we're obviously all leaders. And oftentimes we think our limits are technical. I know in the past, I used to think that. I used to think, oh, I'm just not good with technology. That was a story I told myself over and over and over. And before 2020, if you would have asked me like to help you with something on tech in any way, shape, or form, I would have been like, you have the wrong guy. Okay. I am not the guy. Like, I didn't even hardly know how to log into Facebook or anything like that. I mean, I was so just on the other end of the spectrum. But what I realized is that our limits are not technology. What they are is usually emotional. We have some kind of emotional limit. And that's the big hurdle. Because if you replace technology with something else, you're still going to have those same kind of hurdles. So it's not the tech per se, it's something emotional. You have some kind of attachment, some trigger, something that is causing you to resist this. And it's usually identity based. Like you'll say things like, I'm just not into tech. I'm not good with this. I've never done that. And those things are showing you what your limits are. And it's not like, can I learn AI? Because we can all learn about AI and learn how to use it. It's, can I see myself as someone who is really embracing it, leading in it? And that's the difference the shift can make there for you. The next one, I have another quote, and this is from Alan Toffer. And the illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. Old success formulas may now be a liability. And again, I'm not talking about everything. I'm not saying we got to throw everything out here, but there are some things that clearly are going to be different. The next thing is the new literacy is mental flexibility. Can you adapt? Can you change? Can you pivot? Can you see what's happening and embrace it? 3, personalized AI helps us accelerate the cycle. We can learn, unlearn, and relearn faster and smarter. And that's really what I am all about. That's what I've really embraced, is that, yes, I've learned a lot. I've had to unlearn some things primarily about myself, and then relearn what's possible. And number 4, what must I unlearn to move forward with AI? So those are the things that are running through my mind as I'm going through this and when I'm trying to help people bridge this gap, because there's like a huge change coming up here. And You do not want to be someone who is putting your head in the sand and just ignoring it, just saying like, it's not happening, it's not going to happen, I'm going to be fine. It's going to impact you in some way, shape, or form. Even if the way it's impacting you is you put up more resistance or more blocks towards it, it's still going to impact you. And I have a few self-reflection questions that I want to have you think about here. Where have I been trying to upgrade my effort instead of my tools? So again, for me, it was always working harder, trying to outwork people instead of tools. And when you have the right leverage, it makes a huge difference. The next one is, what version of me is too small for the future I want? So you can think about that. And 3, what part of me believes expansion is dangerous? What part of me wants to be small? What part of me has fear running me? And then the last one, number 4, what could enter my life if I stopped resisting the future? So there is a future out there for you, but are you embracing that? Or are you resisting it? A few examples of how people are using AI is there's voice cloning. And yeah, people can use it for wrong, but they can also use it for good. So in voice cloning, they take your voice, and if you are a parent and you're overseas or you're traveling or in the military, you could read bedtime stories to your kids through voice cloning, have that connection. Or if you're a business, you can send personalized messages to people through email. Instead of them reading the email, they're actually getting a voicemail from you through email. And it's customized and personalized. The other thing is, let's say you struggle with confidence. You can use tools like Ori, where it will record what you're saying. It'll take a transcript or the video, and then it will show you, okay, you had too many filler words. You said things like and ah and all right, and things that are just not helping move the case. And it can help with your pacing, your delivery. So those are just some of the ways that it can work in the real life. And for me, what I've really used it for is to notice my patterns. I think that's the genius of AI, is its pattern recognition. If you remember in a previous video, I talked about emotional contracts. Okay, I wasn't even aware of that. I wasn't aware that there's these emotional contracts we enter into, and then we kind of defend them, and we don't even know why, but we're playing by these rules. And it can help you see that and then break that pattern. Because one thing it's asked me a lot is, am I more loyal to my past, or am I more loyal to the future that I want? And if you're more loyal to your past, it's going to hold you down. It's going to resist you. You're going to have issues. But if you're more loyal to the future you, the you that you want to become, the next self, then it'll be a lot easier. Now, I'm going to end this today with Alaric wanted to have some humor. We interacted about humor, and he wanted to tell a joke, and it starts off about soap and bathing and all this. And just so you get the whole gist of it, my name is Bryan Orton, so my initials are BO, and that's kind of where all this leads into. So I'm going to end it with that, and hopefully you find this funny.
There was a time people didn't use soap. They rubbed river rocks on themselves and hoped for rain. And if you had BO, you just lived with it. I know a guy who was BO, Bryan Orton. Middle school must have been rough. But today, you've got options. You can live with BO, or you can use deodorant. You can stay stuck, or you can evolve. With AI, you don't rise to your potential. You default to your habits. And sometimes, those stink. If this flopped, blame Bryan. If it landed, I'm Alaric. See you tomorrow.